I don't like the look of this place,
Rollan said, gazing up at the council citadel. It was a massive castle built of dark grey stone, quarried from the Petrel Mountains, which loomed behind it like a bank of storm clouds. From the road where she stood with Rollan, Meilin and Conor, Abeke could see that the citadel consisted of a huge central tower. Jutting out from it were 4 wings, each built in the style of one of the 4 main lands of Erdas. The brightly coloured flags of Nilo, Zhong, Yura and Amaya hung from a wide gateway in the main tower, but they couldn't hide the fact that half the citadel's windows were broken. Moss encrusted the slate roofs, and several of the walls looked ready to buckle under their own weight. To Abeke, the citadel looked like what it was, an important building that had been neglected for a long time. Meilin's nose wrinkled. "It is a little run down, isn't it?" She stood next to Rollan. G was a furry black and white boulder at Meilin's other side. "More than a little," Abeke said. She pointed at the part of the citadel that had been built in the blocky style of a Niloan fortress. "Do you see the holes in the roof there? If it rains, anybody sleeping in those rooms will wake up in a wet bed." She glanced over her shoulder at Conor, who stood half a pace behind the other 3. Abeke waited for him to add something, to make a comment about the council citadel. But he did not speak. The fight against the worm had ended months ago, but it was clear to her that Conor was still gripped by the horror of what the worm's parasite had done to him. The worm had affected many of the Greencloaks. She and Erdas had been marked by it too. But somehow, it had been worse for Conor. At least he had the strong, steadfast support of Briggan, who never left his side. Just as she had Erdas. Abeke felt the leopard sitting close beside her, closer than usual, trying to reassure her that their bond held, after it had been so cruelly ripped apart by Zarif. Eras's ears were pricked, and her long fluffy tail curled around Abeke's ankles. Abeke smiled at Conor, trying to get a smile from him in response. Conor looked away, rubbing his forehead as if it ached. Maybe it does, Abeke thought. The worm's hideous black spiral had pulsed on Conor's brow for many days. The mark was faded now, but Abeke knew better than any of them that the horrors of the worm could not be easily forgotten. If Conor needed her, she vowed to herself, she would be there for him. "We'd better go inside," Meilin said. "We don't want to be late."
"We already are late,"
Rollan added. Overhead, Essex flew in a wide circle, a distant shape against a cloudy grey sky. "Olvan and Lenori and the rest of the Greencloak contingent must be here already," Abeke said.
"And we would have been on time," Rollan put in, "if a certain black and white bear hadn't stuffed herself with an entire forest of bamboo and then needed 3 days to recover."
"It's not G's fault her favourite food just happened to be growing beside that inn," Meilin protested. When they'd received the summons from Olvan, Meilin and Rollan had been travelling together to see Jano Rion, the city where Meilin had grown up. Conor, Abeke knew, had been with his family near Trunswick. She hoped they had taken good care of him, but she knew the simple shepherds couldn't really understand everything that had happened to him. After rebonding with Erdas in Stetriol, Abeke had gone to see Kirat and Kabaro in Nilo. She had missed her friends, but it had been good to have a rest, and to go out with Erdas and her bow and a quiver of obsidian-tipped arrows hunting for gazelle. She and Erdas had been about to travel farther south to visit her family in Okaihi when the summons had arrived. As eager as she'd been to see her friends again, she had enjoyed a little time without the excitement and worry that came with being a Greencloak. And not just any Greencloak, one of the 4 heroes of Erdas. Obeying Olvan's summons, the 4 of them had met up at Greenhaven, but they had arrived too late to travel with the rest of the Greencloaks. After hurrying to cross Yura, they had taken a coach that left them a mile down the road from their destination, to give their animals some time to stretch their legs, or wings in Essex's case, before they were cooped up in the citadel. The 4 heroes of Erdas, along with Briggan, G, Erdas, and Essex.